I probably should make it a little bit more formal, but not going to. Not this moment. In a bit. Just happy to have it. And I'm happy to be live today. We're going to be talking about inertia. And for me, I just want to reflect a little bit about last week. Like last week, I did so much teaching on burnout and I did so much teaching on imposter syndrome. Like all of the teaching hit me like a ton of bricks. So just know that because I'm teaching on this doesn't mean that I don't feel the effects of it either. And so I want you guys to really just give yourself grace and love in learning about this, becoming more aware of it, because when you become more aware of your energy and the capability that it has, sometimes it can feel really overwhelming, which is why it's very nice to have a coach. And I am open to receiving new clients. So if you are listening to this and you are feeling stuck and you want to have somebody that you trust, hopefully you trust me. Otherwise, find somebody that you do trust that will help you walk through this. However, I just want to mention that also, like the lunar eclipse the full moon lunar eclipse last Thursday, Friday, has also been very heavy for me, and it's brought a lot of awareness. That's what the full moon is. It's bringing awareness. It's bringing things to your full attention, and so think of the moon. If it's in a new moon, it's like a seed planted, and then the full moon is like the plant is fully peaked. It's fully at its big and beautiful result. Okay? All right. Whew. Letting some of that energy out. I did see a comment on one of my burnout videos I've been doing on Instagram, and it was like, how do you get over this? A couple weeks ago, I did have a full 2 hours. I think it was almost more than 2 hours, but it was a full 2 hours of teaching on burnout, how to recognize it, how to become aware of it, maybe some of the symptoms of it, and then how to get over it. And there's obviously more ways to do it, but I do want to open you if you are just listening and maybe not participating in the chat or maybe not asking questions or sending me a DM. Those are all available, but I'm happy to DM you if you need to discuss anything. Zindaji, nice to see you. Okay, let's get into the teaching today. So today we're talking about inertia. And so inertia is a huge, how would I say it? It's a huge topic in my life personally. And so, first of all, we're going to talk about what is inertia. Thanks, Marcel. Today, we're going to talk about that. So, why do you feel stuck? Because we were talking about burnout and feeling stuck, and then that imposter syndrome of not being able to take the mask off and be who your true identity is, or like break through to that. And so, why do you feel stuck? So, let's talk about it. So, in physics, there's a term called inertia, which is the topic of today. Inertia is part of Newton's first law of motion, okay? And that is an object at rest will stay at rest. An object in motion will stay in motion. And that's unless anything has acted upon it in an internal force. So if something is moving, in school we taught different definitions of inertia. I know there's quite a bit, but we're just going to stay with this because we're going to be talking about the why do you stay stuck piece. Okay. I want to preface this by saying just because you feel stuck does not mean that you're doing anything that's incorrect or wrong or lazy or you don't have any willpower to get out of it. This is a physics thing. So when we talk about emotions, it is energy in motion. That's an emotion, is energy in motion. So when you feel stuck, that's a feeling. And so that energy is in motion and you're going to be stuck because that is the emotion, okay? Your bodily energy is no different than a ball, a rock, a car. It's all energy. Energy is everywhere, okay? And your energy is going to follow these same laws of motion. It's going to follow the same universal laws that govern our realm that we're in, okay? So if you feel like you're stuck and things aren't going to change, that is the energy that you're in. And it can feel like you're in a loop. I I would say that the best way for me to describe it for you is having a, like, you get up, you go to work, you eat, you go to sleep, and like you follow this loop, and then you start to feel like stagnant or like your life has no purpose, and what am I doing here? Why am I just participating in this cycle? And so that is stagnation. That is a place that you can be in. That is that energy of inertia. It's just staying in this constant loop. It's not like going anywhere. So you can feel kind of stuck just being in this tiny loop. And I see it a lot with people. I mean, I mentioned it a lot. I'm in some Facebook groups where women are just very open about where they're feeling stuck, and it's very courageous for them to come out and say, "Hey, I have these issues. How do I get out of it?" Some women have a hard time getting out of that, and some men have a hard time getting out of it. It's not a gender thing. It's energy. Energy is very much neutral to whomever it is. Okay. All right. So the physical inertia, your body's resistance to movement. If you've ever laid in bed for too long, your body will start to feel heavier and almost like movement is impossible. I know that when I ground, sometimes I like to take a blanket, go to the park on a sunny day in summer, and lay the blanket down and then just lay down. And sometimes, like, I can actually feel the earth like pulling me. It's pulling that energy out of me, and it will be like really, I can feel the resistance as I'm trying to get up from that blanket. Now, why is this? Your body is reacting, your muscles are reacting to the stillness, and they're adjusting to that. And so when you have the lesser amount of circulation, you have lower oxygen, your nervous system will start to slow down and conserve its energy because it's in a still form. Now, if you're in that for a long period of time, then it's going to be harder for you to get out of that because of the physics that are around the laws of motion. So that's in your physical body, but in your emotional body, it's the same thing. It's not governed by a different law of motion. your energy body, your emotional energy and motion body is going to respond in the same way to these laws and principles of physics that we're talking about here. So, if you've ever been in extreme sadness or had burnout, maybe you might relate to this. But sometimes it just feels easier to stay in that sadness or in that burnout than it is to take the steps to get out of it, because it seems like kind of a it's really hard to get out. So if your muscles are so used to laying and being still, and your energy, your emotions are so used to just powering through and kind of honing in on this stress that's giving you the energy to do whatever you've got to do, your emotions are going to be in that same way. So it's going to be a little bit harder to lift your energy, your emotions out of whatever that circumstance that you found yourself in. And why is this? So just like your physical muscle body, your central nervous system is also responding in the same way. It's going to adapt to whatever emotional circumstance you've found yourself in. So if you're reinforcing yourself that I am going to be dependent on stress in order to get my work done and make it to bed so I can get up and do it again the next day. Your nervous system is like, okay, this is how we're operating. And now that's my default mode. And this is where you get stuck in burnout. So when we're looking at overcoming it, we want to think about the laws of motion. If I don't know if you're nerdy like me, but I like to think about the physics aspect of this. Of if we're going to break the muscle stillness, you have to get up and move around every once in a while. So this also applies if you're sitting at a desk for a long period of time. Sometimes, like, I totally guilty of it, and I know that if you've ever sat at a desk and that was your job, was to sit at a desk and work, if you're not getting up and moving around, your body is going to be like, okay, this is my normal state. This is the thing. So even getting up and moving around, getting a glass of water, that's what I would do to kind of break up the constant sitting at a desk. I would get up and, go drive and get a coffee, or go drive and see something, just to break up the monotony of sitting at my desk. So it's also the same with our emotions. With our emotions, we want to start to break those things up. We don't want to sit stagnant, and then we don't want to feel stagnant either. So in our energy body, in our emotional energy body, things like breath work, sound healing, different tones, and or even like guttural yells will help to break up the monotony of whatever that feeling is. So if you're sitting there, let me grab my emotions wheel and we'll look at some feelings. We'll look at some feelings. Okay, so I have my emotions wheel here. You can see. You can get any emotions wheel online. I just happen to have this one. It's at feelingswheel.com. So if you want to follow along, you can definitely look at that one. So let's see if we can find a let's see. How about unfocused? So you're just kind of really foggy. It's part of I feel bad. Oops. It's part of I feel bad. And then it's in this tired range. And then the unfocused and sleepy are kind of a little bit more detailed emotions that you would be feeling. All right. So if you're feeling unfocused, Maybe like getting up and taking a walk and listening to some music that is going to kind of focus you on whatever you're doing. So even like I love to listen to kind of like piano sonatas, and piano sonatas like kind of give me this feel. I really love waltz music, and so I'll listen to that, and it will like take my kind of fogginess, and it will like, oh my gosh, now that I'm listening to this waltz, I'm thinking about dancing to it, and it kind of gets me out of that feeling of being unfocused. Now I can focus on something, and helping to shift that out, or even doing breath work. So, breath work could be doing the box where you breathe in for 4 seconds and then you hold it for 4 seconds and then you breathe out for 4 seconds and then you hold it for 4 seconds. Okay. So, doing that. Somatics is a great way to help move some of this energy as well if you're feeling emotionally stuck. I did a beautiful sound bath and it was so potent. Like I could feel it like buzzing in my energy body. I could feel physically, I could feel the buzzing of the tones that were being used. It was all online, so it was great. I'm going to be putting out a little tuning fork session here shortly. Hopefully, by the end of this week, it'll be available. And that is one that is going to be dedicated to activating that central nervous system, activating that vagus nerve to get your body into relaxation. And I find that if we are in this chronic stress, burnout phase, that we will have this fogginess, we will have this unfocused feeling, and we are looking to get out of. Well, I mean, I'm not going to judge you. Maybe you want to be in that. I don't know. I don't think anybody does, but I would much rather be happy and like having good feelings than having the negative feelings. Not that I don't want them, because they do teach me something about myself, but um, if you, I mean, maybe you want to have those. I like to have them. I don't want them to stick around. So we're looking at moving those things out of our body. Okay. So that's some small things that you can do to shift yourself out of the feeling of almost being paralyzed in being in that inertia. So that inertia is that stagnant, stuck feeling, and we're looking to move out of that. Mental inertia. These are the thought loops that keep you stuck. Our thoughts are so powerful. I always like to mention this and reiterate it to everybody of how important it is to really be mindful of what our mental thoughts are. I say this a lot. If you're getting attacked by a bear, or you think you're getting attacked by a bear, like honestly think you're getting attacked by a bear, I think about all the kids. Like when I was a kid, my uncles would show me like Freddy Krueger movies. I was like 3 or 4. Like I was just a little baby. And so, and it was terrifying to go to sleep because you think that somebody is going to, come and get you and take you into a different dimension. And when you're young like that, you're so easily subjected to thinking that those thoughts are real. So that caused a lot of mental stress and a lot of sleepless nights and maybe terrifying nights. So mental inertia is an example is you think about working on your business, but you overthink it too much, and you never actually get around to doing it. Okay. And the reason why these thought loops get stuck in us and we start to overthink is our brain, it prefers patterns. So IQ is different from EQ. So IQ is an intelligence quotient. Many of us have heard of it. 100 is just like base normal. And the IQ is simply how do you process thoughts and patterns? How adept are you to using that mental acuity to get to an answer, to see trends? EQ is different. So EQ it has to do with a frequency of our emotions, of how do we get along with people, how can we handle stressful situations, how are we aware of ourselves, how are we aware of others, how well do we manage conflict. So there's a lot of pieces that go into it, and the IQ is you can't really change the number. I mean, it can go down, but the number that you have is the number you have, with a small variation of shifting. But EQ is a frequency, and so you can definitely, if you're kind of a average emotional frequency, you can raise that emotional frequency with energy work and emotional intelligence teaching. But our brain, it with our mental part, our brain is preferring patterns. So over analyzing or overthinking becomes this energy loop that that will stop action, but it will keep our thought loop will keep going. So it's like the little hamster wheel where the hamster is just like do 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 do. I'm gonna go, and I hear about this a lot. Like it will stop you from like going to the next level. It'll just kind of keep you in this little thought loop. So how to overcome this? One of the suggestions is to set a 5-second rule. You count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you take action before your brain talks you out of it. So you're reprogramming your brain to stop overthinking and to start taking action. So you think about doing something, then you do it. You think about doing something, then you do it. I can definitely use help in this because I love to overthink. I love all kinds of information, and sometimes it can be a little bit too much information. Oh, I want to do this. I want to do this. And I start to like get lost in these rabbit hole thought loops of, oh, okay. I mean, you should see my chat GPT. It's crazy. he's, he's definitely working overtime in mine. Do I really enjoy to study about psychology, human emotions, and all? Yes, I do. Absolutely. It's super fascinating. It's always been fascinating to me. In fact, I did approach the college that I got my degree in to see about getting a second degree in psychology, just because it is a fascinating topic to me. I chose my initial bachelor's degree to be in business, because I love organization and had always been doing manufacturing. But I also really love psychology. I don't know if it's the Scorpio in me or if it's just, I don't know what it is, Zindaji, but it's it's really fun. I always like to learn a little bit more and have all the tools at my fingertips so that I can analyze one myself and then analyze human behavior of others. And I've always kind of been one of the friends that people go to talk about things because I'm pretty open to all kinds of thoughts and ideas. It might be my Gemini moon. I love it too. I love hearing about it, which is why I think this is probably a better role for me. So, okay, so we've talked about 3 different types of inertia where it's the physical body, the emotional body, and then the mental body of how these things can kind of get looped in where you kind of don't see outside of it because you're afraid of what that next step is going to look like. So our next portion, and feel free to ask questions if you have any. But our next area we're going to look at is human energy in motion. So this is our momentum. This is how we're going to. We don't want to look at just being stuck. We want to look at how do we gain momentum, and I kind of gave you some ideas with some of these over how to overcome it. But we're going to look at some physics as part of the framework. So we are going to talk about a formula for breaking inertia. So the formula is force equals mass times acceleration. So the more weight or resistance you carry, the more force you need to create movement. Okay? So the more mass it has, the more force it needs. So we're going to look at that. If you start small but move consistently, the momentum will start to take over. Remember the thought loops. We're reprogramming our brain. Remember the emotions. We're reprogramming the emotions. We're telling them, like, we don't want you to be stuck. We want you to get those moving, get that energy up and at them so that we can continue moving on and being a force. And then over these small little consistent steps that you're taking, the force that you're giving into whatever the goal is, whatever your goal is, whatever small steps you're taking are little pieces of force that are going to move it. And then all of a sudden, as you're being really consistent about it, then you're automatically doing it. Okay. This works with anything. It could be working out. It could be you have a goal. For me, posting content, like getting active of posting content. Honestly, it takes me probably about an hour and a half to do a half a week's work of content. You know, I have a whole list of things that I want to talk about, but finding it and then posting it and making sure that it gets, scheduled out so that my time isn't just always every day I have to do this, every day I have to do this. That's not going to give me the momentum. I need to like do a whole bunch at one time and then send it out and then do a whole bunch at one time and send it out, and it's been working for me. Whereas like a couple months ago, I didn't even have the momentum or the my inertia was very much stagnant, staying stuck. I wasn't pumping out content. I wasn't going live regularly, and now here I am. Like I make a commitment to every 11 o'clock Pacific time. I come on and I do my podcast. And then also, as I am doing my podcast and giving content, I'm also creating reels so that one, I like to learn. And so it helps me to deep dive into things that I love to learn about. And then two, it's very valuable for people to learn. Have you read about Shankaracharya's philosophy? I said that wrong. An Indian philosopher. I have not. I'm going to screenshot this though. Let me see. He suggested we may be just playing our character in someone's dream. As we see dreams in night, we see different characters. That's an interesting, it's an interesting take. I am more of the opinion that we are our own author of our story and that we're here to live out the purpose of whatever our story is. That can obviously change. I'm not like hardwired into that's definitely the thing, but that's just where I stand with that. But I took a screenshot, so I'm going to check that out. Okay. So we talked about the momentum formula. And I want to also get into, let me see where my notes are here. I want to talk about gene keys as well. So I bought this book a couple years ago, and I had learned about human design. I think I've discussed this before, but I had learned about human design, and with human design comes gene keys. And everybody has a purpose. And I think that learning about gene keys helped me to really define what my purpose is. In fact, when I learned about human design, the first thing I did was when I found out what my personality type was I cried. And then after the cry, there was a lot of deep dive and knowledge into what does this all mean? What is the message here? And it's kind of part of my it's kind of part of my purpose is to actually, it's a lot of healing. It's gene key 50, which is harmony, a city of harmony or equilibrium. And so that's part of my life's work. And then there's a lot of just other complementary numbers. But all of the gates of your human design have numbers associated with them. And so gene key 50 is mine. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's the spleen is where the energy field is. But let me see. I have the image of it here. So I happen to be a human design reflector. So this is what my chart looks like. That's not it. Okay. So all of these lines here are all gates. They're all gates that are associated. And so you can see right here, this is 50. I know it's probably backwards for you guys, but it's 50. And I have a lot of, not just in my, sun personality is gene key, the gate 50, but it's also in some of these other areas in my chart. So there's a lot of that presence. So that it's called cosmic order. And so it has the shadow of corruption, the gift of equilibrium, and the city of harmony. And this is part of how we find our purpose. And I feel that when we're looking at the inertia feeling or that stagnant feeling, it's almost like we don't have a purpose. And I think it's more motivating when you do have a purpose of, this is what I came here to do, and I'm going to be obedient in doing that. And so when I'm teaching about burnout, recognizing it, becoming aware of it, it's for the greater purpose of our world. So we all vibrate off of one another. And so when we're in harmony with ourselves, we can be like, people will start to resonate with that. And so you'll bring in people that are going to be benefited, and then you may benefit from their energy as well. So, needless to say, I encourage you, if you have not done so already, to get your human design chart and kind of look into some of the gene keys. The cool thing about it is you get a profile like this with your gene keys. And so this top part is your life's work. And then this is the innocence piece. This is your emanation. And then this is the humility piece. And these are all part of the body. And then you've got a pearl. And then you've kind of got these other pieces. And it's a little bit deeper of a dive into how you resonate with that. But this will help give you a little bit of insight into who you are, where your purpose lies, And the book Gene Keys by Richard Rudd, it's kind of a thick book. There's 64 keys. So it's kind of a thick book, but it does have a lot. Mine's all dirty. But it does have a lot of really good information. If you're like me, sometimes you like to have a lot of information at your fingertips so that you can kind of go through the teaching, go through the information, and you'll find the things that resonate with you. And I've always been that way, and I didn't quite understand that. So now that it's like been shown to me and I'm aware of it, it's almost it's more powerful now that I've been seeing that. Okay. So I do, oh, sorry. Life's works, evolution, purpose, and radiance. I was reading my things. When I work with people, I like to give them the option of having me look at their human design chart, look at their gene keys, and really like dial in to helping them find their purpose in that. So I look through the information and kind of hear what they're saying, hear what they're where they feel like they're kind of stuck or missing what they're missing from their life. And then I look at, okay, here's the chart. Here's what you're saying that you want to do. And here's maybe where the connection pieces are, and help them to kind of shoot from there so that their path isn't like, remember I told you earlier, like you can kind of get into this overthinking and then you rabbit shoot, or you take these like rabbit trails down, and all of a sudden you're like spread out so far, and you're not like, you're kind of like lost out in the woods when you should be just on the path of where you want to go. I think most people want to be in that situation, but they don't have the tools or the awareness to see that. And that's why having a coach is really helpful. Okay. Emotional and energetic momentum can be consciously directed by choosing thoughts, behaviors, and environments that reinforce the state you want to maintain. Yes, thoughts. Dude, when I heard your thoughts are no different than like actual physical things that are happening, it just like hit me really hard of how important it is. And then like all of the things that I've read that do support that, and how even more powerful those things are important. So like when Jesus in the Bible said, just thinking about thinking adulterous thoughts is just as bad as doing them. And it didn't hit me like all the years that I've read that verse didn't hit me as much as when I heard your thoughts and or actual actions, your nervous system has no way of saying, oh, this is fake and this is real. It's like mind blowing to me that how powerful it is. So when you do speak about yourself or think about yourself, how powerful the words that you use are. Like I correct myself all the time, so I'm not like speaking in the most perfect way. I'm not necessarily negative, but there are days where I'm like, man, I feel really gross today. I think last week I had that situation. Last week, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, I was like, man, I feel really gross. And